Breaking the cycle to step forward. Authentic conversations from lived experience and a professional perspective in overcoming abuse with Chris Tuck and Beverley Ann.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Breaking the Cycle to Step Forward podcast with myself, Chris Tuck, and my lovely co-host,
Beverley Ann. Hello.
And today we've got a wonderful guest, a male guest, and we don't have many male guests on our podcast, not through choice, just because we find it hard to get male guests. And today our guest has decided to stay anonymous, so you won't see them on camera, and that's absolutely fine. And our guest's name is Rick. So Rick, welcome.
Thank you.
So will you just tell the viewers who are watching and listening on our podcast platforms a little bit about your background, who you are? Did you have a good childhood? What did your childhood look like?
Yeah, so I'm Ricky. I'm a gardener, landscaper, 33 years old now. Life growing up, it was good. I had a good childhood. I had good bringing up. It was lovely. So I can't complain one bit about my childhood. Good parents and a great sister.
Fabulous. That's what we want to hear, Bev, isn't it? More of that.
It is. It's lovely.
So, Rick, what happened to you that made you want to come on our podcast today for you to find your voice and speak up? And you don't have to go into any detail because we all know what we're talking about when we talk about sexual abuse, whatever it is that's happened to you. But just can you sort of like describe the situation that you found yourself in?
To where I am now? Like to speak up now?
Yeah, what happened to you as a child or young person? And then why is it that you're speaking up now?
Well, so it was in primary school.
Yeah.
And obviously you get friends with all different kids and things like that. And some you get close to, and some you get close to more than others. And I got close to one, and he said, like, come round, as kids do, come round and play on the PlayStation, play with toys or whatever it was we was doing at the time. And I was like, yeah, okay. And it weren't very often that I did go round to like friends' houses and things like that, but this particular one I did, and went round. It was only 5-minute walk from my house where I was living at the time, and so I thought, oh, it's fine. So if I want to come home, I can just come home. It's only around the corner, sort of thing. And then we got there, had dinner, and then my friend who walked off in the house somewhere. So I was just sitting there doing nothing. And I thought, well, he's been a while. I'll go and find him, see if he's okay. So I went into his room, and his father followed me in. He followed me in. I think he'd only just been released from prison himself, from what I can remember. And he followed me into the bedroom and I shut the door.
Yeah.
And I just said to him, I remember saying to him, like, what you're doing, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then all I remember is someone he pushed me, obviously a 10-year-old kid to a grown man.
Yeah.
They don't really know, like no competition sort of thing, you know.
Yeah.
There's no fight or nothing because I'm a kid. I was a kid at the time.
Yeah, 100%.
He pushed me onto the bed, and then he laid on top. He laid on top of me, and
you don't have to share details, Ricky.
No.
You really don't.
But I'll stop that bit there.
Okay.
Because then obviously the rest is whatever.
Yeah.
And then got up. I was obviously nervous wreck, like absolutely shaking like a leaf.
Yeah.
And he said, he opened the bedroom door slightly, and he I wanted to get out, sort of thing, but
Of course you did.
he held me back, and he put his a finger to his lips,
Yeah,
said, "Shush, don't say nothing because you'll get into a lot of trouble if you say anything,"
right.
sort of thing.
Yeah,
So that's it, sort of thing. From there, and obviously I couldn't wait to be picked up, like with my dad or my mum at the time would come and pick me up. I just couldn't wait to get out of there, sort of thing. But from that point, like with childhood before that, I was happy and everything like that. But from that point onwards, I gained like a stutter, completely nervous. Couldn't like closed. I literally closed into myself, to be honest. Like I couldn't talk to no one because I always thought that I was just going to get shouted at and get in trouble if I asked the simplest of things. So I didn't. I was always a nervous wreck. I was like biting my nails, picking my nails. My nails was just like, well, they was just really bad. Like I wouldn't do nothing. I wouldn't talk to me. Like, wouldn't approach my dad with anything because I was just scared. Like, obviously, it weren't his fault, but
no.
I mean, Mum, I didn't really talk to her. And she always said, Mum always said, if you ever had a problem, come and talk to me, sort of thing, no matter what it is. But I was so scared at that point that I was going to get in trouble if I said anything, that I didn't say nothing.
Yeah, I understand.
But it just felt like, because it's such a long time from then until now, like 22 years it was.
Yeah.
That now I decided to speak up because I think it's been quite long enough for me to hold something like that in.
Yeah.
And I just felt like over the last 3 or 4 years, I've just sort of found myself. So I've been finding myself in the world where I should be placed, sort of thing. Like sort of learning a lot more about myself, and it just felt like this was relevant as well, sort of thing. Because it was just memories that was just coming back. Obviously, I suppressed them for a certain amount of time, and they've obviously come back for a reason. And I felt like it's now that I feel like it's time to talk about.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick.
Let's just give you 5 minutes to just catch a breath, Rick, and just, get your thoughts together and let Bev come in.
Yeah.
So first of all, I just want to say thank you, Rick, because what you've shared is so important for other people to hear. So other victim survivors. So there'll be others that haven't spoken out. And just by you showing your amazing courage, will encourage them, not necessarily to come on here and speak, but go and speak to someone. You had a loving family, and as much as you wanted to, you were unable to speak out. And that is so, so common. People so misunderstand that. So just want to say, you know what, thank you so much. Really sorry to hear your story, as we are every story, and it takes a lot of courage for that. And it's amazing. People underestimate how much of that impact stays with you.
Yeah.
So we just want to reiterate to you, we really appreciate your courage to be vulnerable and share at the moment.
Thank you.
So I just want to add to that as well, that it's really common, Rick, that the perpetrators threaten the young person to stay quiet, and even threatening many of us with our lives, with harming other siblings potentially, with harming members of the family. It is so common. And as a child, you believe that, because why wouldn't you? And also what I wanted to pick up on, which Beverley has already had, is you shared that you gained a stutter, you was nervous, you closed in on yourself, you were biting your nails. And we find that many victim survivors, they either explode with what is going on because they can't verbalize it. So they take their anger out on other people, or they stand up against other people and want to fight because they're not going to let anyone else harm them, or they implode. They have those internal anxieties going on. So anorexia, bulimia, over exercising, under exercising, so many different ways of dealing with what has gone on and what we can't talk about. So yeah, there's a lot going on there, but we do applaud you for actually sharing your story with us today, and just being courageous to do it, because obviously I've spoken to you beforehand and I know how hard this was going to be for you, but I also know how much you wanted to do it.
Mhm.
So have you got anything to say regarding what we've said so far?
No, it's nice. It's nice that you like. It's good to like talk to people about it, sort of thing. Like people that have had similar sort of experience, you know, because it's hard to relate. It's hard to talk about it to people that don't know, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
But yeah.
Bev?
Yes, okay. I lost my voice a little bit then, so I didn't want to cough on as on the recording. But just, Rick, it's so important. Peer-to-peer support is amazing, and I'll be completely frank here. Any sharing within a group was something at first like absolutely no way. And the first time I ever shared to anyone, I was in my early 20s. It took me till about being in my 40s before I got involved in anything in a group wise. So, you know, and I would say I wished I'd found it earlier, because being in a group of like-minded people where you don't even have to speak half the words because you already know them. You
Yeah.
don't have to explain yourself because you're accepted for who you are, which makes a big, big difference. So we hear you, which is fantastic.
Thank you.
Ricky, when we met just before Christmas and I stood up and said what I did for a charity, what went through your brain?
Because I think I mentioned to you, I was on the lookout for a charity that I could do this with, sort of thing. And I was struggling a little bit, so it just felt like fate that you was there at that particular time. And when you said what you said, I was like, oh, yeah, she's there, sort of thing. Someone to talk to, and like I can sort of do this with, you know. So to actually find that person to relate and do something about it with is all what I wanted, you know.
And why do you feel that so passionately? Why now?
Because I'm an adult now myself, and I'm in my 30s, sort of thing. Like in your 20s, sort of thing. You're still learning a lot about yourself in your 20s and things like that, finding your way. And now I'm in my 30s, sort of thing. I've sort of found where I need to be, like in my mind, sort of thing. And I felt like now, because I feel like there's so much awareness going about things like this and other like problems. I feel like I need to do my bit to help children, make it easier to talk like it's okay. Don't feel threatened. You need to talk to people, and there is a lot of people out there that can support you for this. You don't have to be scared just by one person. There's a whole world out there of people that will support you.
And you take your power back, don't you?
Yeah, you do, because so once you've got your voice and you started talking to people and you get the response that you get, right? So it's rewarding, and you feel like, well, I can turn this negative into a positive, and it's I wouldn't call it like a life experience, but it sort of is, sort of thing. But so because you know what you're talking about, and then you can actually relate to people and say, right, this is what I've done, this is what I can do. How can I help you get through your situation, sort of thing. So that's sort of where I'm at with that. So I've learned enough about myself to talk about things, and obviously, as I said, when I was a child and I gained this stutter and voice, everything like that. Since I become my own boss and growing up a little bit, I've sort of give myself a bit that much more power.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
a lot easier to talk to people.
Absolutely. So when you think about, as you were growing up afterwards, and obviously you went through school, you mentioned that you had a very good family life, but you struggled to connect. Well, they weren't your words. You said you struggled with your dad a little bit afterwards.
Yeah.
Due to the impact. You don't have to go into details, as we always say, but how are things with you and your dad now?
A lot better now. He doesn't know this.
Okay.
Because that's just a whole different ball game if I tell him.
Yeah.
So it's good that I don't tell him, but now I'm an adult, I can relate to him a lot more, sort of thing. I'll get on a lot better with him as I've grown up.
Yeah, lovely. And just so that everyone knows, self-care is very important, and you actually have some people with you at the moment supporting you as well. So we just want to say thank you to them, because supporters around us often say, what can I do? And there's nothing they can do to fix, but actually with them being around you at different times, it means so much. So just want to say thank you very much to the supporters around you right here, right now, while you're speaking to us.
Yeah.
Rick,
sorry, Chris, go on.
I was just going to say, Rick, did you ever have the opportunity to tell anyone, want to tell anyone whilst you were growing up? What were the barriers that you felt were in the way, other than maybe feeling that this person has already threatened you to stay silent? What would have made you potentially speak up if things were different? Because what we're trying to do here is encourage children and young people to speak up, but we can't if we don't make it safe for them to do so. So what one thing would have helped you, do you think? There might not be an answer.
Yeah, that's very difficult, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think obviously you don't know if you don't talk, because you don't know if anyone else is going through it as well. So I think to make it more easier for kids and things like that, to be more open and make it easier to talk about, I think that is the best. That's probably the best way it can be, to be honest. Like,
so do you think in schools then, having sort of some part of the sex education curriculum, that there should be safe touch, unsafe touch, what abuse looks like? I'm just coming up and trying to give you some words.
100%.
Would that have helped?
100%.
Right.
Like, if instead, like that, as you say, in the sex education thing, obviously they say like man and a woman and whatever it works and whatever.
Yeah.
It's just showing. It is literally just showing a man and a woman. It's not showing like this is how it works, but it doesn't work if it's like this.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah.
With like a grown up and a kid
and a child. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You have to. I think that needs to be made more out there, sort of thing.
Yeah, it needs to be clear, doesn't it? It needs to be spelled out, literally.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But there will be parents that will say, I don't want my child having that education. And my argument against that is that some parents are abusive to their children. That's why they don't want that education for their children, because then they'll be outed. But equally, there are parents out there that are not aware of how prevalent sexual abuse is. And therefore, they're saying, I want my child to stay innocent and young and free of all of this kinds of worrying angst. But I just know, and Bev knows, how prevalent this actually is. And it's about giving our kids the awareness, so that if something happens to them that is not, correct and appropriate, that they can go, actually, no, I'm now going to go to my safe person, whoever that may be, and I'm going to talk about something that's made me feel uncomfortable that I don't like, and I'm going to speak about it. That's what I would like to see. But you're going to get parents arguing against it because they just don't understand the prevalence.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes you think, if they're so passionate about not talking about it, what are they hiding from not to want to talk about it? Sort of like to make their kids want to talk or get learnt about it because it might make them aware, sort of thing.
And often that's the fear, Rick. That
Yeah.
is often the fear behind it. And the fear of, let's be honest, it's heinous what happens to children. Yourself, Chris and I have been through it, loads of people have been through it, but it's heinous. And isn't it funny how we put out there about adults, and there's a lot about adults now that we open up, that's where you can go for support, etc., and come forward. When it comes to children, we keep it all so silent.
Yeah.
And we're scared to.
Yeah. Because obviously kids being kids, they're tiny, like they're young, they don't know what's right and what's wrong, sort of thing. And they don't know how to speak because they haven't had that experience growing up, like to know that it's okay to talk.
Absolutely. And look at the messaging we get, and rightly, I'm not saying it's wrong, but, learn to respect your adults, your elders. You go to someone else's house, you listen to their rules. So even without that, even if someone's not violent, what child can speak against an adult unless we have these conversations? So I just want to bring some awareness to the time, because I'm very aware for your well-being, Rick.
Yeah.
And self-care is something that's a priority at all times. So how are you? I just want to check in with you at the moment. Are you happy to go ahead a little bit more?
Absolutely fine. I feel totally comfortable.
Fabulous.
That's good. So the next question is going to be, so growing up in your 20s, once you left school, growing up in your 20s, how did it impact into your life?
It was good. It was good, to be honest. So I was finding my way. I had various different jobs, sort of thing. And I was just basically, I was finding my way, just basically finding my way in my 20s, sort of thing, until now. But I always found if I had a job after 2 or 3 years, that's it, I want to leave. Whether it was a bad situation or the job was great, sort of thing, at that point, 2 or 3 years, I want to leave. So I don't know, and I don't know why that is. I don't know why it is. Maybe it's because of this sort of thing. You think people are getting too close, and that's it. I need to push them away, because that is effectively one of the things that have happened to me. Right, like since that sort of thing. If I feel like people are getting too close to me, then I'm just pushing them away. And I don't mean to, because I'm not that sort of person. I'd love to be loved, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I feel like if people are getting too close to me, like no. They have to stay at arm's length. And I don't mean it, but that is just how I am, sort of thing. And that will change. I know it will change in time, sort of thing, because I'm recognising everything now.
So what happened then for you to think, right, this is it now? I want to try and find a way now to find my voice. What happened for you?
I went into 2 or 3 years ago. I went into a deep depression.
Yeah.
I was angry, and I was really angry, to like, it's not taking it out on people or things like that, but I was just angry. If that, like, I just couldn't control it. I was stressed. I put myself into work, like what I'm doing now, sort of thing, with landscaping and things like that. But I was taking everything on, no matter how big it was, and I was doing it myself, and I was refusing help. Although I know I needed it, I knew I needed like the help to do all the jobs and things like that. I was just working and working and working and working. At the time, I thought it was, this is great, sort of thing. I'm doing well, showcasing what I've done and things like that. But then all of a sudden, I just sort of hit a brick wall.
Yeah.
And I was hurting. I was getting upset over nothing, like literally crying over nothing. I was angry, and I wouldn't talk to no one. And then it just something clicked, and I went for a drive, and I ended up going to my uncle's down in Kent, just to get away from everything. And I spent about 4 days down there, and I just sat there and I thought, okay, I need help, sort of thing. So got in touch with a counsellor, and then I told them everything like that. And then I had a session. I think I had a session of 10 different appointments every week, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that was quite enough, because after the end of that, I felt absolutely fine. I was back to being myself, and I was feeling a lot more positive. And it's only been since then, after then, I'm still fine and things like that now, but it's only been since then that I've learned a lot more about myself.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we learn all the time, and it's ongoing. So I will say that you'll find so much about yourself ongoing. Can I ask for anyone listening as well, how did you find the right counsellor for you, Rick?
Well, yeah, because I emailed through the local council, like saying, is there anyone out there I can talk to have some counselling, sort of thing, because I feel like I just need to talk to someone. There was three different counsellors, and I chose one, but he I think he was around similar age to I am.
Yeah.
But it's weird, because usually I find it easier to talk to older people. But this particular counsellor, I spoke to him, had the initial assessment and appointment on the phone, and he just listened. Obviously, that's what counsellors do. But it just felt like I had that connection, that I could just be open and talk.
Yeah.
So it just felt like if you've got that, just feel like you've got that energy between you, it's a lot easier to talk to someone, rather than.
Absolutely. And it's so true, and it's so important.
Yeah.
Chris, you've got your hand up.
I have. While Rick's been talking, I've been scribbling down all different things, as I do. So I just want to recap. So basically, pushing people away, deep depression, really angry and stressed. All of that, Rick, is normal for the abnormal thing that you went through. Okay.
Yeah.
And you've got every right to feel angry, every right to feel anxious and stressed and not trust people. And pushing people away is almost like a coping mechanism, because it's about keeping you safe. So when you feel that someone's getting really close, even if they're safe and really nice people, for you, it's just too much at that time. And you can work on that if it's still an issue for you. And doing the overworking, Bev and I were both smiling whilst you was talking through, because that's exactly our patterns. We overworked, and we don't need help from anybody else. We will do it, and we will do a good job, blah, 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 blah. I had a breakdown. Bev, what did you do?
Yeah, similar. Well, we call it breakthrough. We call it breakthrough rather than breakdown, because it's when you get so low, you can't go any further. The only way you can go is up. And I was chronically ill as well during my first lot of counselling. So we hear you, Rick.
Yeah,
we're there.
Know. Yeah.
So,
but it's always, you're trying to always prove yourself, and this is what it is. It's about taking back control when you feel out of control. So you will do everything and anything to try and get that back in your life. It's classic trauma response. And I just want to add right at this moment in time that if you are a male survivor, there are male counselling services out there, or support services like Mankind, like the Survivors UK, and like Survivors Trust. Just in case you don't want to work with a female, you want to work with a male, there are male-only services out there for you.
Can I add to that as well,
yeah,
Chris? I'll add to that as well. There's a great service for anyone, any males particularly, well, it's for men that are in depression, regardless of what's going on, and that's Talk Club. persevered.com, and that's founded by a wonderful fellow called Ben Akers, and he's really good. And what he does, it's online, but he also goes into football clubs and he goes into pubs to for in-person groups, because that's where the men are, and it's like, let's just talk. So if anyone's listening, please, look into these, and we'll put the links in as well below, so you've got somewhere to go. So we're very aware of your time, Rick, and your self-care. Got 5 minutes left. Okay, this is when Chris makes a face at me.
I've got loads of questions.
Right. So,
Rick, when you come out to your family, when the time was right for you to do that, what was the response? Was you frightened about speaking? And how was it received?
When I told them about all of this, it was only my mum I told. I told my mum first. And she obviously she was devastated, because it's obviously it's son that has gone through it, sort of thing. And she said it's always been her life's work to protect her children. Yeah. And to know this had gone on all them years ago, and I've held it to myself for this amount of time. Mm-hmm. She hated it, to be honest, because she said
she was heartbroken.
Yeah, she was. She is, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I remember her words afterwards said, no matter how old you get, you're still my boy, and I'll never let anyone hurt you ever again, sort of thing. No matter how old you get, sort of thing. Yeah. That was her words. And obviously she's my mum, and she was the first person I've told my sister and my friends, and I haven't told many family members, to be honest.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll come in time. Maybe I never will tell them. But whatever happens. When the time's right, I will tell. I'll speak up, sort of thing. But doing this is just it's my way of dealing with it,
Yeah. Yeah.
I just felt like I had to tell the people closest to me, because just to make them understand me a bit more, sort of thing. Although they know me inside and out, there's obviously that part where no one knew about it. So there's obviously ways that they might have thought, well, why is he being like that for? Or why has he gone quiet? Or why has he done this? Or whatever. Now they know, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And understand. And they've been so supportive. It's been amazing.
That's
and Rick,
to hear.
The way I describe it is, I used to feel like I had this big black hole inside of me. And if my friends could really see into that hole, they wouldn't want to be my friend. Yeah. And so when I did tell them, I was absolutely petrified.
Yeah, I was shaking like
that. But when, some of them were like, oh, okay. It was because I was going through my counselling at that time. I was like, oh, I'm having counselling. They were like, yeah, what for? And then when I told them, they were like, oh, okay, how you doing? And it was like, I was expecting this big bomb to go off.
I did think that as well. I thought, well, that's it. No one's going to want to know me. Once I say it, no one's going to want to know me. That's it. He's out. But it's not. It's the absolute opposite. It's amazing.
It is.
And Rick, I don't know if you've found, but I'm not saying about your friends around you right now, but we find, Bev and I, that the more we talk about this, we get so many people come to us and said, that happened to me, that happened to me. And before you know it, you're surrounded by people that have said, something like that's happened to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Because obviously, once you've started talking about it, and there's probably people close to me or that I don't even know. Yeah. But now I've spoken about it, it might make them easier to come to me about it, because they'll think, well, he's done it, so why can't I do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. And this is where your self-care is vital, because to enable yourself to look after others as well, even your supporters around you, it's about looking after yourself first as well. And self-care is something that we are both big on, but I will always, we'll always ask each other what we're doing for our self-care. So we're very aware of time because we don't want to also drain you too much. But if after this podcast you think, you know, in a few months' time, oh, I'm ready now, I want to speak about this aspect or that aspect, you are always welcome to come back.
Yeah. The one thing I want to do by doing this podcast is just help people. That's all I want to do. Is just help. That's that's what I want to get out of this sort of thing. Just help.
Yeah. And it will do. So thank you. If, you know, there'll be one person listening today to this podcast or watching this video, and when they listen to it, they will be saying, oh, I'm ready. It's come to me at the right time. So this afternoon, what are you doing for your self-care then, Rick?
Me and my friend Chris, we're going to go out for lunch. And just go out.
Lovely.
And just chill out and have a chat, and then just take the day as it comes.
Lovely. Lovely.
It'll be nice.
Chris, any last thoughts from today?
No, I obviously just think Rick is courageous for sharing what he's gone through, and also it will help the younger men come forward and speak up, hopefully, to a trusted person, whoever that happens to be. And I just wanted to really say that not every person that you might share with might be a positive reaction, response person to actually be disclosing to. So if you feel like you have spoken up and haven't quite got your needs met, whatever that may be, then please seek help and support from the specialist support services that we've already spoken about, or try another relative, another friend, if you feel that's the right thing for you to do. Because not everyone's going to react in the way that you want or expect. So I just wanted to caveat all of that as well. Bev, what was your one thing?
Keep talking.
Yeah.
Keep talking. Because, you know, we learn so much more. You know, we know how to be strong. You know how to be strong. We learnt that, sadly, through trauma and experiences. Brené Brown, there's a fantastic video called The Courage to be Vulnerable, and that's what you've got. And it's learning that vulnerability to balance. So you know how to be strong, but that's when, you know, you talked about love and loving yourself. And when we can be vulnerable with ourselves, it makes a huge shift. And you're already doing that. The fact that you've got people around you today supporting you as you talk is amazing. So keep doing what you're doing and look after yourself.
Thank you very much.
Rick, is there anything else you want to say before we end today? And don't forget, you can always come back.
Yeah, I'll come back.
All right then. So thank you for watching and listening, everyone. And if you've got any questions for Rick or ourselves, or any ideas of future topics that you want us to cover, please get in touch. And the email is, Bev?
Breaking the Cycle 2stepforward@gmail.com, and it will always be underneath this video or podcast that you're listening to. So thank you very much. Thank you to Rick. Thank you to your supporters around you, Rick, because they are so important. They don't realise how important they are. And we'll see everybody again in another session. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.